do with this build, and Raven posted some changes. So I'm going to be a bit more turtley.
Okay.
And because I got a good spawn, I can pretty much just build turrets around here and go for T2.
Okay.
Not that I'm definitely going to build turrets. I don't want to tell you my strategy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have imagined that you were going to turtle and build turrets while trying to rush T2. That seems unheard of. It's hard. I can't talk to my viewers because I am, you know, I don't want to give away my strats.
Yeah. Well, unless you say something really specific, like I'm building my third bomber. I'm gonna make much difference.
Bombers would be a good thing to build this early, huh?
Know how big an army you should have, and all that.
You know, I'm actually not that used to this build either, so. Remember that time I had energy? Oh, look, I have energy. Oh, there you are at the South Pole.
There you are. No, I'm not telling.
So which version are we going to test? 65048?
Playing. Have no idea. I can't answer.
Okay.
Oh, I just love that I can say that to you and you like you're like, oh yeah, of course.
65048, yeah. It says in the top left, top right of the screen.
Oh, it's behind my planet drop down. Did I get that right?
Oh no! A grenadier!
Hey, what did he ever do to you?
What?
What did he ever do to you? You have to kill my guy? So rude.
Oh, that's a lot of units. Uh-oh.
Well, you've got a few units of your own, huh?
Oh, I need them to defend. I haven't got enough turret. I couldn't decide where to put my turret, so I just thought I'd really miss it.
Fair enough. Nope. Run. Run.
Looks like the Grenadiers' projectiles have had a speed increase.
I just changed their arc to low.
Ah. Okay. I like the number of ants I see.
Oh, now you want the turret. Got bad news. Too late.
Away!
No, you stupid combat fabber ran out in front. Hey, I need those guys. Could you stop that?
Nope.
Hmm.
Do I have any radar over there? It sucks. I thought I got a fabricator. Ah, Commander, run away! Run away, my stampers. Actually, you still here?
Yes.
What do you think about the new name for the T1 tank?
I haven't seen what it is.
It's Scamper.
He has just no reaction at all. Apparently he's speechless.
Indeed, I am. I didn't think this would happen. I didn't think you could stoop so low.
Stoop so low? What are you talking about, man? It's genius.
But the ant isn't schizophrenic. Oh my goodness. Well, a bit of nostalgia can go a long way. This isn't over.
That's right. It's alright, I'm holding all the cards.
Oh, my fabricator's doing a dance. Oh, I haven't got loads of metal.
Whoa, what happened there?
My laser defense towers are doing nothing against your banners that are being healed.
Do units still get stuck on the side of craters?
My
Oh,
T2
crap.
towers are doing a lot of dancing around.
Freaking
I haven't
army
seen
on
anything
both
just
sides of
like
me,
inside
huh?
of a crater. Dancing, go over there.
Oh, I saw some snipers. Oh, that's too much. Oh, I think I lose. Shouldn't have gone in there on that.
I didn't know your commander was there, I just saw the power and sort of
Yeah.
assumed he would have built one of those lines of power, so it'd be somewhere.
How bad off was I?
I'm getting 530 metal a second and I barely wasted any.
That's really good. I actually had just built my T2.
Built mine a while ago. It felt like you didn't attack me early enough for it to hurt. I went like really heavy fabricators to get my economy up as quickly as I could. And none of them died, so good for me initially.
Yeah, I think I should have done some bomber harass.
Yeah. It's a shame you don't have PA stats.
Yeah, too bad.
Still don't see orbital in many 1v1s.
Yeah, it does have a place. I've got the same bad habits, right? Like, Yeah, I had... When you had 355 or 360, I had 270 metal per second. And I kind of stagnated there. I didn't really keep expanding like I should have. So that's about when you took off, I think. I guess I poked you down a couple times, but I didn't get nearly as much harassment as I wanted.
Yeah.
I probably wasted a ton of
I
metal
didn't
too.
rebuild on the metal extractors as well as I mean the metal spots as well as I could have done. Usually I'll send units and fabricators at the same time so I can immediately get the metal. Didn't really do that. Kept losing my fabricators. And I felt like I didn't have to expand if I was getting TT metal in my base, but then my TT fabricators were doing a bit of dancing.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the 13-minute mark. It was pretty over. You were cranking out the sniper bots, and they were gonna ruin my day. And even at that time,
it was expensive, but not as bad as vehicles. Like,
aren't they both 7,200 metal?
I think I can see how much this.
I don't remember.
Okay, yeah, the T2 bot factory costs 144 metal a second to run, and the T2 vehicle factory is 180.
Oh, I see.
Which is, well, it's not that much of a big difference. But I was also using combat fabs with it, and that sped the building up tons.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, good game.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. The boss.
I'm trying to think about how to start a look, the scamper has returned thread, but I'm not sure words can handle it.
It's a bit of a confusing situation because Camper used to be the docks, and some people will think the docks has returned when really there's just two grenadiers right now. Just one of them looks like a docks and one of them the old artillery.
Yeah, and Zayfot still calls doxes
Scampers, yeah.
Scampers, so that's gonna be like really weird.
Oh, does he? That's awful.
I was told really badly not to do that.
Some in one direction, some in another. But I was waiting for the T2 radar.
You were told what Marshall?
Oh, when Pace started up, I was told, like, you have to use their actual names when casting. I was like, but Scamper!
Yeah, I had combat fabbers on those. See, okay, I'm looking at a battle at 15:30, and it actually was going pretty well. My combat fabber was like killing the crap out of my Vanguard, but the Vanguards didn't go in, and then the docks moved in front, and then it kind of went worse. That was actually not bad. If I had like actually sent them in more, that would have been way better. Sorry, Infernos.
Well, they're Vanguards if you have combat fabbers with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those combat fabbers definitely helped there. When I played against, I think it was Gandalf who was trying to use them, it went okay for him, but it was costing him quite a lot of resources. He didn't have any storage, so every time they repaired something, it'd store.
Just tanked his economy. Yeah, I had built both storages because I was being bad at game.
Yeah, that really, really helped you. I was shooting one Inferno with like 20 tanks.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I should have had some combat fabbers over there as well.
Yeah, that's because they're so good, dude. Man, good. That was a really good game. I felt like I played all right.
Yeah, you did good. You needed to sort of harass from every direction because I had a lot of undefended metal extractors. But
Yeah, I sent some
did
harassing
well.
units, but I think it was later than it needed to be. And I didn't build, like I built a radar and I didn't see you and on such a small planet. I was like, okay, well, I'm at the South Pole, he must be, or I'm at the North Pole, he must be at the South Pole. But I think this planet is bigger than I thought. So then I built another radar
I think it's
closer.
550.
What's that?
I think it's 550.
Gotcha. I just should have had more awareness of how much vision I had. I just should have scouted with an actual scout. That would have been fine.
Yeah, I had fighters going around the whole map because I didn't want you to get. Actually, I had way too much anti-air. I spent way too many resources on stingers and fighters. And you didn't have any. So.
Well, too much is relative because you won.
Well, I could have spent more on units, and I could have won quicker. Like.
Well, yes, I understand the always striving to do better. I do the same thing.
Yeah, that's how I play PA.
Yep.
Every game.
That's how you get good.
Yeah. And I'm keeping my commander safely right in the middle of my base now, because I've had too many vanguards and stuff drop on my head before. And that game in the tournament when the guy was flying around with Infernos, well, that was weird. But the previous person he beat because their commander was on the edge of their base and they dropped 3 Infernos on him or something. So, Matiz, have you downloaded the PTE yet?
Yeah, I'm just about to finish it.
Yay.
So like 2 minutes or something, and it should work. Does PTA support mods?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them are definitely broken. I ended up disabling all of mine and then disabling a few. But the way I make it work is to load PA mod manager and then choose the mods I want and then press launch PA and then the normal live build will launch and then I close that and then run the PTE in the new launcher.
So I'm interested in seeing if you guys want to. Well, Matiz, is your download done?
It's updating game files now. So just about to be finished.
Okay. Well, then I'd like to maybe have you guys try a game where one of you tries for that, that go for T2 strat, and the other one of you tries for the stick with T1 strat, and see if it's better than it was. Obviously, if it seems to flip back and forth, and as you guys adjust, you keep finding ways to have each side win, each strategy work, then that will mean that we're getting closer to that balance. And incidentally, just to clarify, we're not really fully concentrated on combat balance. We're just kind of starting to poke at it, but it was hard for us to balance the pacing and economic changes of T2 while T1 felt so ineffectual versus static defenses and uber cannons. So and so that's why I started tweaking these numbers, is really just to try to make that happen. The last change, did you end up finding a list of changes, Matiz?
Yeah, I got it.
And how do you say Matiz? Is it Matiz?
Sorry, can you repeat?
How do you pronounce your...
Well, it doesn't matter really. Well, I pronounce it Matiz, just like this.
Matiz, okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of a slightly shorter I than I was doing.
Yeah, it's Polish I guess, instead of English. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay. So if we can give that a try, I don't really care which side does which. Last time what we did is while we were playing, the people who were in the game muted, and I did some casting so that the audience could kind of see what's going on. And then afterwards we got back together to discuss how it went and what kind of strategy changed without how did it work, and is there like strategic ideas that might make one side more successful, just to see if... Okay.
Do you host now?
We can just use that map if you want.
I could host the same map again. I quite liked it.
Oh, okay. One thing that was confusing before was I had said, like, one team's strategy was like to try to get to tier 2 and use it to win, and the other team's strategy was to stick with tier 1. And then some people were like, well, I'll just not build any tier 1 while I go to tier 2. And that was not the point at all. Like, whatever you feel like you need to do to have like a reasonable force to defend your base while you're working on T2, like you should be building that. Like there's no, it's a very loose restriction, not like a hard one.
And then if someone goes for heavy tier 1, he also is allowed to take up to tier 2, right?
Yeah, of
Not
course.
just
Like
later.
if you get to that point where you're like, gosh, I've got just so much tier 1 that I really feel like I can easily afford tier 2, then you should go tier 2. Just like you would, because I don't want it to get to this point where it's like, yes, but nobody would actually play that way. I want to experiment with, are both of these like kind of long-term strategic plans valid?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Burnt, maybe you play the heavy tier 1 because I don't have experience with tier 1 yet, so I will go for old tier 2, okay?
Yeah. Do you
Perfect.
do you guys think it would be useful to I don't know how I can do this. I was going to say like to go over some of the things I've tried in the sandbox environment to just see how the units, like especially the Grenadier, which is new, is working.
I've struggled to use the Grenadier because I've sent it straight against ants and they just got wrecked. That might be good.
Yeah, I think it's good because, well, we need to know how units work and then we should test them later. I mean, test strategies, so I should know the new units too, so I
Okay.
think it's good idea to sandbox first and then have real game later.
So
The
what
game's
I'll-
up, by the way.
Oh,
The game is up, Meta.
Okay, do you want to? So, what I think we have to do. I don't have any way of like sharing a sandbox game with you guys. So, I propose that we like turn your attention to the stream for a couple minutes, which will make it hard to talk because you'll hear me twice and there'll be a lag. But that's the best way I can imagine to have you guys see what I'm talking about.
I feel like there are enough slow points during the game, like when we're building our first few metal extractors in factory. You might be able to describe things then without having to I don't mind really.
Yeah, why don't we just look at the stream for a couple minutes? If this doesn't turn out to be useful, we'll just stop doing it really quickly.
Okay.
Can someone link me the stream? Which stream is that?
It's just Twitch TV / Metabolical.
Right, because I've tried a few things in the PTE, I might be able to give some input on the things you try as well.
Yeah, like once you see a couple of things I do, you'll be like, okay, now I want to see this, and then we'll just do it. It's no big deal.
Or I'll be able to make an extra note, like the combat fabbers cost 720 metal. That's more than a T1 factory. Careful with them.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna get one of these. I'll just put a few more. Oops, that's wrong.
I can't stick around. I've got to come in tomorrow, but I've bopped a link in the stream chat for your viewing pleasure, Meta. When you
The
have a
docs,
chance.
I just fixed it, so I have actually just restored it to exactly what it was before. Is that
What in the current?
the current
build that you're
PTE?
testing
Like,
right now?
basically, there's another build that's just like this PTE build, except for it actually fixed the docs to be like it was before. So that was just a mistake. Let's build a couple of these, and then let's build some of these. Oops, those are the wrong ones. Get rid of those guys. And then I think I wanted some Infernos.
I did some tests like this a while ago to do things like throw 100 ants at 100 docks, and it was a lot slower when you actually had to build them from factories.
Yeah. So if we take let's take 8 of these Grenadiers, and up here there's. Oh, can you guys see the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm selecting, you probably want to mute it, or you can watch it and mute me, but I'm going to take these 8 grenadiers and I'm going to send them just directly at the tower. Not
They're
going to
gonna
really...
die. Spoilers.
Okay, and how expensive are grenadiers?
90.
90, okay.
Let me open my spreadsheet of all the answers.
Oh, I don't know. Dying. Oh no. Okay, that was surprising.
Surprising.
And it's
They did not all die.
300. Does this turret cost 300 or more?
The double laser turret costs 450.
Okay. And do walls change the effect of the attack a lot?
I don't believe so. Let's go ahead and just try it. So I'm going to take a wall and...
Because right
Changes
now
it
it
when you're
feels
using ants or the docks when the docks come back though.
So I'll switch back to control of red and grab similar size bunch. It's actually one more, but it's fine. This turret's facing almost the right direction, which could influence the outcome. Okay. Now I'm going to take Inferno.
so a couple of shots attacked the wall, but then they attacked the turret. So was the why did they attack the wall at the beginning and then they attacked turret?
I think that they just auto fire when they
Yeah, they're in range.
yeah, when they get in range, and so they automatically shoot that.
So the Infernos are partly better against the turrets now because the Infernos are faster than they used to be.
Yeah, a little bit faster.
Yeah, Infernos feel really strong now.
But I think they were given more health or something recently as well.
And how
Like
much
up from
does the
700
Inferno
to
cost?
1,000?
Yeah, they're just slightly healthier than they used to be.
And what's the cost of Inferno now?
The Inferno, just looking it up. Flame tank 225.
225, okay. Yeah, they feel really strong now.
Yeah,
They might be-
I might
Mhm.
think they might be too strong.
Well,
Yeah,
the ants do more damage, so if you can kite with ants, you can
Well,
avoid the Infernos.
you can kite with everything, but if they are if there's composition of Infernos as tanks and then some kind of unit that shoots and deals DPS, then it feels like Infernos are a really big part of it and make this attack very strong.
Yeah.
Position.
It'll be more fun when you try and send your own tanks like around the back of the formation to take out the enemy tanks and have them rotate the turrets.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like another little scenario. I don't know if you saw it.
Wow, these combat fabrics are insanely good.
Combat fabbers are handy.
Oh,
Very
nice.
expensive.
Very
Also
expensive.
Very expensive to run.
They-
They
they're-
cost 60 metal a second to run.
Yeah, they're expensive and valuable, which seems like a good combination. What was another scenario we ran?
I'm gonna have to point out that I think that they should be just half the price and half as good, like build stuff half as quickly, so you get two for the price of one, so that they're more in line with the cost of other T1 units. They're very similar to having two instead of one.
Right. Okay, it's good feedback.
Well, the other problem with the biggest problem with combat powers, I think, was that units just die too fast. So maybe this could be looked at when we balance combat powers, because it takes like 2 or 3 shots to kill a unit usually. So then they don't have enough time to repair unit to be cost effective.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take. Oops, I gotta be red. Let's just take like these guys.
So Grenadier has biggest range of all tier 1 units, right? Or do you have the same?
I don't remember the exact range.
Yeah, I think turrets might be underpowered in this match. It feels like really they don't defend areas that well anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. I did not actually tweak things that much, but it may have been. But you're right. It may have been too much.
Yeah, but because you buffed the units, but you also nerfed the turrets, so
Yeah.
that's double buff or double nerf. So
Double whammy. Yeah.
yeah.
But there's a certain amount of. Well, actually, I want to. This is a question more than a statement. Do you feel like you should be defending your base with a mix of turrets and units?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, going for pure turrets makes no sense. But well, it depends on the size of the map very much, because if the map is big, then it's much more efficient to make units, and if map is semi-big or small or something, then it's much better to get turrets, because if you get 2 or 3 turrets, then you cover most of your metal. If it's small map, and if it's big map, then you need like 10 or 15 turrets to cover this. So the problem that we might face in balancing this is that on different maps, on different size of maps, it will be a different balance. So
Yeah, well,
I don't know how.
that's good, right? Like you want people to have to make strategic decisions based on their environment.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the question I was really asking is like, forget how it actually is. Do you think the right gameplay feel is, a mix of turrets and units, right? Like, if we get the balance right, that should mean a mix of turrets and units to defend. Does that seem correct?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
So that's kind of what I would like to see end up getting. We'll get there. I mean, we're obviously not there yet, but.
Okay. Yeah, turrets could be really nice in covering choke points, or maybe places where there's really a lot of metal, like 5 or 6 metallic spots, and then units would just react with a combination of radar and defend turrets when they are in danger or something. That could be really interesting too.
And if you're trying to build something like a catapult halfway between your base and your opponents, then having some turrets there, it's a good place to have them, so that you build something that has really long range, so your enemy is forced to assault it, and then you put those turrets up, so when they assault it, they lose lots of units.
Right. So I just built a pretty fortified location here. It's got the turret, it's got a few of the grenadiers, and it's got a combat fabber. So let's experiment with what it takes to knock on that door. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe put in a couple more of those guys.
I'm hoping for like free-form drawing of walls at some point, so that it's easier to put up walls and it's less of a hassle.
Yeah.
Because that curve you've got is really nice. I want to be able to do that without having to click lots of times.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. right now I just click as fast as I can when I'm placing walls, and they overlap everywhere, and it looks very messy. But then when they're actually built, they don't overlap because it can't build one on top of another. But I get a good coverage that way.
Alright.
I've
Yeah,
had that
the-
problem with stingers. If I send a group of stingers and docks in and I click to attack something, the stingers will just go in and stand next to it. because
Yeah,
they can't-
I'm not
they can't attack.
satisfied with the way that ran. Like I had to really micro those combat fabbers to make them work right. The other thing I wanted to point out is that walls are tough, but because these guys do a little bit of splash damage, like you get them attacking that middle wall, and they end up doing damage across the wall. And it takes a little while for them to wear a wall down, but they can do it. We take...
What do you think about the HP of wall? Don't you think it might be slightly too much?
oh, diplomatically stated. I don't know what I think. I mean, they do seem very tough, but they are walls. Like the 5,000 HP for 25 metal seems like a good trade, you know? I don't know the answer yet. I do feel like they feel tough, but there's a piece of me that's like, well, they're walls. They should feel tough. At the same time, like one of the problems we had with Tier 1 was they had no answer, which is why these Grenadiers got created in the first place.
Definitely seems a lot better now with the more powerful Infernos and bots that are better at taking out the walls.
Yeah, actually the speed
see
buff
they
on
do
the
that.
vehicles helps a lot. That's like a big part of what the Infernos... Like I had...
I believe the ants have a higher DPS as well now, so it can help with the walls quite well.
Yeah, these changes make sense. And what about ant or camper speed? Is it the same as Infernos, or it's bigger or smaller?
I think they're the same. I don't have it in
Which
front
is
of me.
faster than they used to be.
Which is faster than it used to be, but still slower than bots. So this is actually a lot of these Grenadiers, but just to kind of see their effect on walls.
And Grenadiers have the same speed as Doxes?
What's that again?
Do Grenadiers have the same speed as Doxes?
Yes. Actually, this back row guy isn't even participating.
It looks cool, but it's like projectile, kind of.
Yeah, it's nice, but it still takes so much time to kill this wall.
I'm just imagining one TT bomber flying over.
Yeah.
That would hurt.
Well, that's kind of
And
a
what
thing.
about the interaction between Tier 2 and Tier 1? How good are sniper bots versus Grenadiers and stuff like that?
Oh, actually, that's a really good point. Let me grab these guys and show you another test I did. So,
Wow, okay, those walls are being healed. There's
Yeah.
one combat fabber.
well, one combat faber, like, because repairs are based on the speed at which things get repaired is based on metal, just like the reclaiming or repairing of your commander. You'll note, like, when we raised the metal of the commander, that made it a lot, a lot tougher to repair it. In fact, one of the things we were hoping to get as a side effect of the Tier 2 economy changes was making at Tier 2 a little bit better to repair your commander with the Tier 2 fabbers. But that means that cheap metal things like walls get repaired really easily. So let's take commander. Let's take this Invictus commander. Turn blue. Hear annoying sound. Now this bar is the energy bar, not the health bar, and we're gonna work on fixing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them to attack that guy, and then I'm going to tell him to fight back. So what happened here was we had a run-in with a bunch of bots, and the commander is a badass, but he's now at like 80% health. So even though he kind of cleaned them up pretty effectively, he paid a pretty big price for that, right? Does this look about 80% health to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So-
still feels like Commander owns tier 1 pretty hardcore, to be honest.
That would take so much matter to repair, though.
Exactly. Like
Yeah, that's true.
so he's 25,000, so 10% would be 2,500.
Yeah, but if if I went with my 20 Grenadiers and I took down small portion of HP of Commander,
Mhm.
you could use the metal that I wasted to claim map control and win this way.
I
you
think
have
you should try
20
Ants against the commander because Ants had a health boost and a damage boost. I think they'll do quite good against it.
Okay, my assault bot may be different. Oh, ants, sorry.
Yeah, the tank.
You mean scampers?
Yeah.
So confusing. Why couldn't you just say scamper? Oh no, wrong ones. But we did. Gotta tell Howard that noise is really annoying.
The Uber cannon seems so much better than when it had the splash damage reduced to 25. That did like no damage.
Yeah, that was just, I tried something to make it not so egregious, but it was just, then it was too weak.
Oh yeah, ants feel really campers feel faster. That's nice.
Okay, so he lost 60% of his health in that fight. And that was, I didn't count how many, I don't know if anybody saw how many units I started with, but I didn't count it. But
Yeah, it was like 30 scampers.
so, again, like, now his commander's in a position where it's like, well, he clearly doesn't want to get in another one of those fights, because he'd be in trouble, right? It would be too big a risk.
To
Yeah.
me, that looks like really good balance for trying to kill a commander with T1 units.
Right. Let's do this. Oh no. I did the wrong ones again. Everybody dies.
Yeah, I still think tier 1 could be slightly stronger versus commanders, because if you sacrifice 30 ant scampers like this, then you lose your map control, like, no matter what, so that's
Well,
the
I
problem.
feel like you should be scared of assaulting the commander, though.
Yeah.
He should be something that,
I mean,
a bit
it
like
will
turrets, that if you
yeah,
see
it will-
him and you only have a few ants, you should think, nope, I'm going to go and shoot something else instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So the reason the walls, the commander uber cannon, and the towers got buffed a little while ago was because it was like a no-brainer what your strategy should be. It was like build, bot, death ball, win, right? And that was definitely not the best situation for us to be in, balance-wise. Oops. Gotta switch. Okay, didn't do that much. We can kind of see his health. Anything else you guys want to see? Oh, you
I
wanted
want
to see some?
see tier 2 versus tier 1, that's very important to see how
Okay.
sniper bots deal with grenadiers and shellers with with levelers? How do they deal with tier 1?
Okay. So most of my attention has been just focused on just caveating Rebheadadime, on making tier 1 viable at tier 1 and hopefully somewhat against tier 2. So this will be a little more experimental, but I'm interested in looking at it. Where are you, Sniper
I
Bot?
would love to see boom bots against shellers, because someone told me that they had a really fun time with that recently in the PTE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
but
the shellers are
if
really
you-
expensive, and the boom bots,
But
they
if you
can't hit
have-
the boom bots.
If you have support of just one leveler or something, then boombots will not go close at all, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
our difficult
So
situation.
they're a lot cheaper than the T2 tanks now. You can get like 20 boom bots for the cost of a leveler.
So this
I'm not entirely
is
sure that's true, but something like that.
these guys are 2160 a piece. So maybe that's too many. So with these 4, we'll have 8,000 or so. Really, 8,500 metal. So let's take light laser tanks, and they are 150.
I think the T2 units should definitely lose this. It should be the T2 units should be kind of special in that you need to use them in very particular circumstances to get an advantage with them. But
Well,
they're
it's-
probably, in my opinion, a little bit underpowered right now in the PTE.
Okay, so 10 of these is 1,500, which means I could get like 40 of them. Would be 6,000 metal. And they probably ought to be a different color. That'll make the test a lot more interesting. Now remember, these tests are kind of arbitrary because nobody sets up their battles like this, right? So we'll just take this here, and we're gonna send them to kill these guys.
Yeah, and try to micro gillies to dodge the to kite tanks, right?
Yeah, they're not. Not sure why they're not firing at all, actually. Wrecked. So these guys are...
I think they didn't have vision, probably.
Oh, that's probably it. Let's go ahead and fix that.
It does. I don't know if this is an obvious question, but the scouts have had their guns removed, and I really like harassing early game, as you may have seen in the tournament. Like, I'll use the best unit to harass within like 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And before, in the PTE, skitters could do that. They could kill fabricators, and before that, fireflies quite good at harassing. Which I don't really like now that they've been removed, because there's no action in the game. There's no battles going on until like 5 to 10 minutes in.
Well, I mean, you could do that harassing with a regular unit, right?
They
Yeah,
won't
but
get there in time.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah,
the
I really-
speed.
I really liked the harass with skitters. It was really fun, and it had nice mechanic with doxes, because doxes could defend that, but on the other hand they were slower, so you could maybe try to run in when he was attacking you. I mean, attacking my base. So you had to had some units to cover engineers. So that was like pretty nice mechanic with faster skitters than doxes, and I'm not sure why.
All right. I took a note to.
I remember a lot of people complaining in Supreme Commander about the scouts that had guns. I don't know if that's relevant.
Well, we were just like they're not really meant to be fighting units. Like and it felt like they gave like quite a bit. Like with the harass you could do with those guys, they gave quite a bit of map control to say like, okay, you can't really expand. But I guess when you're far from your own base with one of those guys, like you have to deal with the defending units. So maybe there's a balance point there. I just took it out a note to think about it more. I'm not gonna decide off the cuff, but I'll probably talk to John about it as well. Okay,
part of the reason I liked it as well is because early game skitters you could harass with, and then during the middle of the game, skitters wanted to give people would attack with docks and stuff more, and then later game when you got sniper bots, the skitters became useful again because they could help you get extra range with your shellers and snipers. So I liked that they were really useful early on and then really useful later on as well.
Yeah, I agree. And also, they have quite a lot of vision range, so it's less random. With dogs, you can randomly run into something and die with 90 vision. But if you have 200 vision like a skitter has, then if you are skilled enough and you look at the skitter all the time, then you basically should not lose it at all. So that promotes skill, and it's very nice, I think.
It promotes skill and micro, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
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 Do any of you guys play Planetside 2?
Nope.
Nope.
I do not.
Okay. Wanted to ask.
Okay, so I'm gonna send these guys in. I'm gonna send them to attack like back here, and I'll just kite that direction with the blue team. Yeah, I mean if you micro this, I think you can just win, right?
Yeah. You should, in theory, at least.
I remember the snipers when I've used them, they had a bit of trouble hitting ants that like fired just over them. I think it's been.
It just happened a couple times.
Missing some, but it's not as much of a big deal as it used to be. By the looks of it.
I mean these guys do a lot of damage, but they fire slowly. If you let these guys get here like at all, like they'll just die.
Yeah.
And why are sniper bots missing sometimes randomly? What's the idea behind this? Is it bug or it's on purpose?
It's not necessarily an intentional effect. It's a side effect of just the way the projectile system works, and sometimes it has to do with the curvature of the planet. So especially on a small planet, you might see that happen. I don't know if it has to do with the movement, so I can't give you a detailed answer, but these are the kind of general reasons why things miss, is because they fire and then we send a projectile out, and then, you know, stuff happens. I don't know.
It seemed to me like they'd miss ants quite a lot because the ants are shorter.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
And like if you use slammers instead of ants, then the snipers would absolutely wreck the slammers because they would hit every single time because they're a big target.
I gotcha.
You were slammers buffed in any way? It is weak in comparison to other units.
No, I did not do anything to the Slimers.
That kind of felt like an indirect hint. Slammers are a bit sucky.
Well, I don't know about this because if tier 1 gets popular, then slammers might be good because of their speed and, well, not really speed, but sniper bots are just better, I guess. I don't know.
Right now, yeah. But there's a few units in the game that I feel could be quite easily balanced, perhaps temporarily, to be in line with the other units. But better like spinners, kind of attack.
Spinners are those vehicle tier 1 AA, right?
Yeah, everyone uses stingers instead. Stingers
Yeah.
would be better. Perhaps stingers could be nerfed instead. Never.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Although now that T1 bombers have a little bit more health, that felt so much better when it looked so much better when I saw it going on.
The tier 1
Tier 1
bombers?
bombers seem better.
Sorry, what was that? You were just talking about the tier 1 bombers' health?
Yeah, it seems a lot better against Stingers, but Stingers were potentially overpowered compared to the other T1 units before, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so what I did with the bomber is I think the health was 80 before and now it's 100.
Yeah.
And the anti-air, they shoot for 80, so they were perfectly in line with each other, and so they would always one-shot the bombers. That was actually another. Let me just get a new canvas over here. I'll go ahead and maybe I'll just move this satellite over here somewhere.
I thought the Stingers would take them out in 2 shots.
Before?
Yeah.
Is that the bot one? Nope, that's...
Yeah. Find some numbers.
They shoot for 25. Yeah, I think I was looking at the wrong thing. And they're both the same. They both shoot for 25 at 2 per second.
That's why I thought it was 40, because it's like 2 shots at once.
Yeah, and then the air bomber has 100 health. Anyway, moving it from 80 to 100 meant it would take 1 more shot than before. So I can show you some of the little playtests I did here with that. That's the wrong unit. Where's the bomber? Thought I clicked it. And then we'll get one of these guys on the red team. Actually, let's start with one of them. So now I'm just going to try to fly over this guy's space with 2 bombers. His first shots are going to nail his wreckage buddy and invalidate my tests. So that's awesome. Let's go ahead and put one of these guys back. Now that there's no wreckage. First I'll just try a flyby so they're not going to automatically kill him. So 2 bombers can fly past a Stinger and have 1 live anyway. And the point of that is just to give them time to do something. It's not necessarily that they're going to live. It's just like, oh, I can imagine you send in 2 bombers, and even though there's a Stinger there, they have a good shot at killing a fabricator if you see it. You know what I mean?
I really like the change, because before, if I accidentally flew near some anti-air, they would just pretty much instantly die, and well, perhaps not instantly, but they'd die a lot quicker, and it was basically make 1 tiny mistake and they're gone. Whereas now you have a bit more breathing room with being able to like see the enemy and being able to avoid them rather than just being seen, and then you've lost your bomber.
Right.
Although
Yeah.
I'm slightly scared about what Klops is going to do with them.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to tell about it, but like if we if someone opens with air factory first, then he can really force a lot of AA or interceptors. So it feels like air might be stronger than before, slightly.
Well, with the metal extractors making less metal, and I don't know what balance changes it was before, like in the last few weeks, but it felt like going air first gave you a big disadvantage economy-wise, and very few people did that in the tournament.
Okay.
So it might be good if T1 air was made a little bit better as the first factory.
So here's 2 bombers trying to get past 2 fighters. Obviously they should lose. The question is, do they have time to do anything while they fly in? And I think they do. In fact, it looks like this guy might actually get away, but nope. So again, the point is not to make them, obviously they're never going to survive since they can't shoot back, but to make it so that they have time to do something before they just evaporate, and that was the point of that change.
Are bombers fixed now? Because beforehand they often refused to drop a bomb, or like they moved in pretty weird ways, so that made using them pretty unreliable.
Bomber. So you mean like taking really tight turns at super slow speeds?
Yeah, yeah, and like it really, I couldn't drop a bomb sometimes with it. Like I targeted specifically something and it didn't do anything. It just flew past or something.
Matiz, did
Up.
you drop a bomb recently before that? Because there is a reload time.
I don't really remember, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes the bomber does, like, when it's doing that tight turn, for some reason it kind of thinks it has to make a semi-tight turn, but not a super tight turn, so it'll miss the target and come around a second time.
Yeah.
I find that annoying too.
Yeah,
so.
that still happens.
Yeah, I will say I agree that the bomber movement doesn't really feel that fluid. So, well, I took down a note to. I mean, I knew that was one thing that we need to look at, but no, I have not fixed that at this point. So
I kind of liked it back in beta, I guess it was, when I could slow down the T2 bombers and have them drop all their bombs at once. That was fun, but probably overpowered.
yeah, kind of ridiculous.
That was overpowered.
I could kill a command of like 5 T2 bombers. Have them stop above him.
All right, so
Okay, any other scenarios before you guys actually play a game?
maybe
I think we should play.
I think so
okay,
too.
let's do it. Okay, let's play.
Okay.
Put me in a
Public
spectator
again.
slot.
Sure.
I would like one as well.
Well, there's only 2, and I get one of them.
Oh,
Echoes.
never mind then.
Rush.
You guys,
Gets there first.
yeah, you guys can race.
Mine. Ah. Come on, launcher.
You're okay because I'm launching too.
Why is it checking the manifest?
Oh, you might not have to spectate if you know that Meta is streaming. There's a link
I
to
know,
his stream.
but I like talking
Your
to
stream
Meta
just went
directly
bright
instead
pink,
of.
though.
Well, I like talking to Meta directly instead of talking to his 30-second delay.
Yeah, the streams are really irritating.
There is some trick that you guys do to get 3 spectator slots. Actually, I should write that
I know how
down.
to do it.
Yeah, I could do that. No one else is joining though.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm joining now. I'm just going to take down a note. I feel like there should be more spectator slots.
Yep.
I heard secondary colors were coming back.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been there. Like, somebody added a
I'm
mod.
kind of happy about that.
Yeah.
Somebody, you're looking at him. His name is Burntcustard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, so
Uh-huh.
it's not like they went away. It's just that when we redesigned the UI, we really didn't put a spot there. So the interesting thing is that the secondary colors were causing a problem where, you know, you'd have somebody who was like red with the blue secondary color, and they'd look like purple units because of the way our eyes process the blend of blue and red. And so we did a bunch of work to change the percentage of primary color versus secondary color on the units, so that to avoid that confusion. And then one of the things that did is it made it so that it's not like it ever really was something that you could use to differentiate your units. Like, you could never have an orange army with you know, black highlights and an orange army with yellow highlights and actually be able to distinguish those armies on the map. So that would never have worked, but it made it even less distinguishable. So that's why we really didn't incorporate it in the UI. But since you guys were like, but we love it,
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
like cost
I
us almost
think-
nothing to put back in.
Honestly, I think it should be really low priority. Like, color doesn't really change the gameplay at all. So.
It was only a few lines for me to put it back
Yeah,
in.
like-
That's what I thought.
I think
Exactly.
most people who are bothered about it can download the mod.
Yeah, I think
I don't
WJ was like, oh, you want that back? You're like, give me 10 minutes. Like,
Okay, let's go.
do I have to ready?
Is someone else joining?
Yeah, one
Yeah,
second.
there should be somebody else on the
I'm waiting
spectator.
for the manifest to check because the launcher for some reason wants to do that. I started up the stable one and I didn't realize I started up stable. Rick.
Do we want to wait for you?
It'll take about 15 seconds.
Okay.
I think.
That's what I would have said.
Soon.
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 Just refuse to answer questions about timing.
Yeah.
We are
Make it a habit.
investigating this problem.
I've been in this lobby for a very long time now.
Are you enjoying it? Because you should be enjoying it. Is that wrong cat? That isn't wrong cat, is it?
Yes, it is wrong, cat.
Dang it, I was right.
You can sense me.
I only saw the W and I was like, wonder.
Ah, Matiz has made an appearance.
Been 15 seconds.
Yo, man.
I said soon, bro.
I've never heard Matiz's voice until today.
Likewise. Well, no, yes, I have before in a tournament, actually. I lie.
I hope you don't mind us just talking on your stream, Mata.
It's fine. If
Oh,
the
we're
shenanigans
streaming
get too
bollocks.
ridiculous, then I'll probably just be like, okay, let's move to another channel or something. But
And suddenly you'll disappear.
Didn't realize you were streaming, sorry.
No problem.
Orion says it rechecks manifest if you change streams.
I didn't change streams, so I just changed launchers. And when I went to start the stable build on my regular launcher, it was like the third time I've started up today, so I have no idea why it suddenly decided. "Let's
So-
check the manifest.
you're using the old launcher and the new launcher?
No, I'm using the new launcher that just got updated. Like my original PA build,
I see.
it just updated today. So
I'm using the new launcher, the older launcher, and PA Bond Manager to launch PA sometimes.
The
I
old
had done-
launcher
I had
will
done that.
actually give you a complete additional copy of PA.
yeah, I realized that I might have to take it off my hard drive.
I'm still not entirely sure what the relationship is between the standalone Uber launcher, the Steam launcher, and Raven's PA mod manager. Because I can fire up my Steam version and it'll work with whatever mods I've installed via mod manager without a problem. I have absolutely no idea how it works, but it works, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing.
I mean, it's because every time you launch PA with the mod manager, it applies all the mods that you've checked. So then next time you launch PA, it still has the file in it that says you're using this
Yeah.
mod and this mod and this mod.
Does it do that to both
um,
Steam and standalone versions though?
Yeah.
Actually, are you sure about that, Custer? Because I've saved my work on PA Mod Manager by
I
hitting
really want
refresh.
to start this game.
I'm okay with it.
Just started at this point.
Yeah, let's go.
I just realized that my game files are updating. Oh my god.
Okay.
Seriously.
Ooh, join
Come
the club.
back.
I think in the final version of the new launcher, there may have to be some percentage numbers of progress.
Yeah, because I keep seeing the loading bar. I come back to it and the loading bar was at 90%. I was like, yes, almost done. Let me go back to TeamSpeak.
Okay, so I'm going to try and rush T1 units. Shall I mute myself?
Yeah, you
speakers.
and Matiz should probably mute.
Okay.
Bye chaps, enjoy.
Bye.
Don't, no violence.
Oh, I should probably update it to be Burntcustard versus Matiz because Burntcustard versus Metabolical is just such a different game.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yes. Well, you're pretty much MLG standard, to be honest, Messer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Standard caster who can't play. Great.
You, Brian Perkis.
Ouch. That was
What?
cutting.
No. Hey, whoa. He said that first to me. It was kind of bad, actually.
It's cutting.
But it's true.
About me? That's so cruel.
No, Brian Perkis, not you. Well, actually, I'm in a hole, aren't I?
Yeah,
I'm in a
this
big
is
hole.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like you're
This is a horrible hole.
talking
You're going
about
subterranean here.
one of our active and popular, I think, community members.
Think?
Well,
It's a bigger hole.
Stop digging. We're going subterranean here.
Okay. So Matiz first to build a factory there. He built three metal extractors. Again, they're 5 instead of 7 now, to encourage the need for expansion. And it looks like Burntcustard went forward first. And he's going to go air. I think he's probably fairly enamored with the bombers. And what's not to love. And then meanwhile, Matiz, I don't think he's particularly famous for building a spinner.
Med, I keep seeing this bar underneath the commanders, which completely confuses me because I'm really paranoid about low health commanders.
Yes, that we are actively, like, one of the main reasons we haven't released this to the public is because of that bar. So one of our technical artists, checked in a change to make it so that you could actually, he put a background on the energy bar for things that have energy and ammo, and so that's what you're seeing is this empty looking energy bar for the commander's Uber cannon, and that makes him look like he has no health. I had the exact same panic, and so that's what that is. If he loses any health, you'll suddenly see the health bar at the same time.
Yeah, I saw that. I think in your last play test, I saw it like at the beginning of the game. I was like, all right, he got nuked already. It's been like 2 minutes into the game. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. So we got a little scouting going on here with the bomber, and he's got a good opportunity. He makes a run. Boom.
Oh, wow. That's, wow.
He's giving a lot of attention to this control. Matiz moving his, oh, there's a spinner. He responded very quickly with that spinner. That was a good move. So, one fabricator for 2 aircraft. That's what I saw.
In my book, that's a win.
Did I
Just
get to kill the fabricator?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So there's another air assault coming out. Now, if we look at the economy tab, they both have exactly 3 fabbers, 4 mobile units. So spinner's now out. In each direction there's a fabber, so I think he might be okay now. It'd be interesting to see if he's able to run his air in and like nab somebody.
Yeah, that bomber radius is really helping Custard. I'm just watching him use it as he flies by.
Well, he got that dox. And he gets away. He can't really take another shot, I don't think.
Didn't you rename the docks back to Scamper again or something?
No, the tier 1 tank is called the Scamper.
Oh,
Oh,
you've
God.
got to be kidding me.
Oh.
How did Marshall take it?
He was pretty calm. He took note of this change that was gleefully pointed out to him by, I can't remember if it was Burnt or, I think it was Burnt.
I've just spotted a post on the forum by Marshall. He's not happy.
Oh no. Please link.
Okay, more air coming out for both teams. Another raid looking around here at the, and he's going to go for it. He'll probably get this fabricator pretty easily, I think. And then you can see how the bomber actually gets his energy bar put up as well.
That is an accurate energy bar. Like it does actually function on most units, right?
Yes, it's just that most units don't use ammo. We're gonna change it to be a lot better because really, since only the bomber has like multiple, like it currently reflects, like available, like the number of shots, and the bomber is like the only thing that has multiple shots. So you might have seen your commander with like one little tiny white bar on him before. And that little tiny white bar was like the one Uber cannon shot he had or something like that. And now, anyway, we're going to fix it. Nick is working on it. Soon.
We haven't. Oh, the stream just flickered for me. There, back online.
Yeah, mine did not flicker. But thanks for the warning. So, He's got Matiz is moving a fabricator pretty close to Burntcustard's base. I don't know what his plan here is, or maybe he was. Yeah, he's just putting up a little territory grab tower. And did Burntcustard say he's going to focus on T1? I've actually already forgotten.
Yes.
He did. Yes.
And then Matiz has started his tier 2 right now, actually. So he's got 4 fabricators on it. He's about to get a 5th. It'll still take like 2.5 minutes in that range with that much power because they're 7,200 metal.
This build also has expensive towers, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, there's another thing that I think is in this build that I'm not sure if it ever got mentioned, and that was that you can shoot a nuke anywhere in the system.
Well,
That was not mentioned.
that's a pretty darn big
That's
change.
interesting.
Prepare for
That
nukes
would've-
to be truly nuclear.
That would have significantly shortened the game I played yesterday. Good grief, that was on for about 2.5 hours.
So the problem was that like nukes are like one of the major ways you can like try to punch into another planet, and then if they weren't orbiting each other, it became you could get into those kind of stalemate situations. And originally we'd been talking about like, well, there should be a nuke for going around a planet and then a nuke for going interplanetary, and we hadn't built that yet, so we made the regular nuke go interplanetary like within kind of the gravity well as we called it. But really, once it's breaking orbit at all, there's no reason why, like, even from a lore perspective, that it shouldn't be able to go further in the system. So
Well-
then we were talking about having, like, we kept postponing doing something about it because we were like, oh, we're going to have this interplanetary nuke, this, like, solar system nuke. And one day I turned to Skatis and I said, what additional gameplay value does having it be separate make? And he was like, yeah, you're right, let's just change it. And then that was that.
Okay. Well, I kind of like the idea of having like an orbital like nuke thing that would be super powerful because it could travel so far and you could see it from across the system.
Oh, like a nuke platform in space?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
way people would be like, okay, this dude is serious.
Yeah.
He's coming for us, and he doesn't want to come for us on orbital. He wants to come for us with nukes.
Right. So we did talk about that. We talked about a nuclear platform. We haven't done it. It's an interesting thought. Maybe I'll write that down, because I think the thing that you said that makes it the most compelling to me is that you can see it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because if you scout the enemy base with like an advanced radar that's up for like 3 seconds before the Avengers destroy it, you might see the nukes and you'd be like, oh god, he's got nukes, but you don't know.
Right.
You just see them and you're like, okay, they can go anywhere.
So the other
What's that
change that
mean?
you guys may not be aware of is that nukes now do have a capsule of damage, which means they can kill things in orbit. It's like they hit the ground and then they'll kill orbital stuff above it.
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know.
Great.
That's kind of strange, but orbital fabrics have repaired stuff on the ground before, so I don't know. Weirder things have happened.
Yeah.
One thing that already silly was when you had ground fabricators assisting stuff in orbital.
That
That's
was
really
after.
silly.
That was
So-
after the orbital fabrics.
Kind of a nice
Yeah.
little raid here by Burntcustard on Matiz's metal extractors. He's actually abandoned working on that tier 2 air factory. I don't know if he abandoned it or if he got like interrupted. No, he's working on it again, and he's done with his factory, his advanced
bet.
spot factory. So now he's working on. So the metal cost of everything in tier 2, just if people aren't aware, in tier 2 is generally a lot higher. So like a tier 2 metal extractor, I still think is like 3,000. I can look.
As of last build, it was.
Yeah, and yet these tier 2 ones build only produce 24 metal per second, which means it takes, I think, a couple minutes to pay off, just to pay for it, pay itself back. And the thinking behind that is twofold. One was just something I got from doing these previous discussions from you guys, which was to force you to have more map control by having more tier 2 metal to pay for things that you're going to run. And the second one was to make kind of the payoff time of getting to tier 2 a little longer, so that the tier 1 player, like a player who is choosing to stay tier 1, might have a chance to scout it and react to it when they get to when they see the tier 2 being built. So that was, you know, you can see that Burntcustard has a significant kind of map control, I think, yeah, map control and unit advantage. Let's go to the unit tab. 144,
too.
yeah, 144 and climbing, 150 now. Mobile units for Burntcustard versus 23 for Matiz. So he's now that he's at tier 2, and he's been there for a little while. But meanwhile, he's actually just kind of catching up in economy relative to each other. So there's a pretty big fight force coming into Matiz's base here. He has Infernos, some combat fabbers, and some scampers coming in right now, and so those will help keep the stuff alive and give him a lot of firepower. And he's got some spinners.
So the general idea with this particular sort of build is that you've got tier 1, which is supposed to be sort of fairly nimble and quick and flexible, and then you've got the big lumbering powerful T2 sort of thing.
Yeah, and like, I'm not pretending that I think this is like the final
Of course not.
balance. So this is, what I'm trying to get from these guys is their opinion on the feel of how T1, T2, the pacing of getting to tier 2 is, and it will take a while for them to figure that out. Now, with the loss of those energy plants, Matiz is actually down to 71% efficiency. So, he's even making. Actually, he's back up, but he's at 280. Burntcustard is actually ahead with his tier 1 economy versus a progressing tier 2 economy. I can see like 4 of those advanced metal extractors that are up. But I kind of feel like Burntcustard could just kind of come in here and go for the win. But maybe there's something he's seeing that I'm not sure.
Uber cannon, that's what he's seeing. At this point, actually, Meta, in earlier builds, when T1 units and the Uber cannon, actually Uber cannon specifically, Uber cannon wasn't so spammable, I would have moved in with tanks by now and killed his commander.
Yeah.
Because he has a critical mass. If he puts all of his tanks next to those energy plants and scouts the commander, he could kill him.
Yeah, and then there's an Inferno on the commander right now, like burninating him pretty hard. He actually runs right by and gets out of range and gets picked off, but now the Matiz's commander is down to 70%. I think he may be just, he's seeing the realities of his situation.
Has commander health been changed at all? Because I've noticed.
No.
I noticed in your early. Okay, it hasn't. Okay.
What did you see?
And damage was increased.
Well, beside that might have been what I saw, because I noticed his health seemed to drop faster in the last playtest. But that might have been just the ants. Or ants. I'm still calling them ants.
Yeah, the scampers. Yeah, they hit a little harder now.
Yeah, T2 gone. That's
All right. So I have to see the replay.
Okay.
But I don't know how. If I go to main menu, I will not be able.
Yeah, don't click main menu. Just click review
Okay.
game.
You've never looked at a replay before?
Yeah,
That good?
no. I thought with the new system or something it might be.
Yeah, you can actually go find the replays, but I to be honest, I haven't used it that much, even though I really wanted to see it working.
I think I was a bit boring with my unit compositions just then, but it seemed to work.
What?
I don't know. I thought the using composition was pretty good. Like,
I was trying to have like twice as many ants as infernos, so I could have the infernos in front and the ants doing all the damage. I did make a load of combat fabbers. I was just being stupid with them and not sending them in properly.
One thing I've noticed is that in formations, the Infernos don't go in front. Is that intentional?
They seem to that game.
they do.
Yeah, but
They do prefer front, and it regularly works, but not always works. You know what I mean?
To Custard, it's 4 metal, 2 power gens. Is it normal now? In this?
No, I did an extra power generator because I went air first and wanted to get another factory
Okay.
up really
Yeah, but-
quickly.
so-
The 4 metal is because they only give 5 instead of 7
Yeah.
metal a second, so
Okay,
you
okay.
more likely to go for 4, maybe even 5. I haven't tried 5 yet. 5
No,
don't know.
five,
before
five
the first
feels too
factory.
much, but 4 should be enough, I think.
Yeah, you'd definitely be wasting metal if you did 5, but then it might help.
The commander's build and consumption hasn't been adjusted, has it at all?
No.
Nope.
So to maintain the same thing, you need 4 metal extractors as opposed to 3.
Though, getting an early factory and instead of using engineers, you could also build early ants to harass. So
Yeah,
like
'cause
while
the
your
ants are
commander builds
faster, but
extra
you
eco
wouldn't know
after
which
the
way to send
factory.
them.
I mean, there's general areas.
Yeah, but a bit
It's
like
like
I
the-
did with
it's-
Docs before, except a
Yeah.
little bit slower.
Also, you just send out a few scouts out first, which are extremely fast and now.
Who doesn't love skitters? Oh wait, they don't have weapons.
Well, they still worked. I used them pretty well in our FFA. Just looked around to see where there was free mechs.
Send other units with them.
So you use them to scout those scout units?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, it's amazing. I don't use them to harass, I use them to scout.
That's crazy.
If you send a skitter with another unit, though, it will slow the skitter down, which is a
Well,
Well-
I just thought the skitter would speed the docks up.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Into the
it
slipstream.
means that, like, the skitter doesn't have a gun anymore, so you have to send it with a unit if you want to kill fabricators. And if you try and send it with a unit, it doesn't work because the skitter goes really slowly.
Okay, well,
That's preferred though, because in subcom I just have scouts with my units, and my scouts always run in front of my units, and they just die. Except when they're in formation.
yes, that's annoying.
That is the idea, is that you sent them together, you must want them together.
Well, having a very simple option like double-clicking move so that they all go at their fastest speed would be relatively simple and work.
Using an attack move works, but that also disables formations. So
Or
trade-off.
have a button to put them in formations, and have by default not formations.
No, that's too many options. I think just double-clicking.
That's
That's
overkill,
really
man.
simple. Like double-click to go full speed makes sense.
Well, attack
Oh.
move to go full speed apparently works, right? Isn't that what
Okay,
it's turned?
so
Yes.
how good are doxes versus and tank units? I feel like doxes are really bad versus ants. I mean scampers and fairness now.
Well,
Yes.
the doxes don't exist anymore because someone did a silly. So it's just grenadiers.
Yeah.
But
I can probably I fixed that today, but you guys don't have it yet. I can probably go ask Mark to push a button, and then you guys will have them back if you want. Do you want me to do that? We have a PTE build, I
Give
think,
you
ready
better
to go.
feedback if we have the unit.
I miss them, but I'm not. I don't miss them that much.
You mean
I can live
doxes?
I can live without them for another few days.
Well,
Oh.
it was just I didn't want you guys, I wanted to have the chance to like work with you guys on this, but I didn't want to have to make you patch again. That's all.
Well, I can patch quite quickly. It seems it only takes me like 5 or 10 minutes. It definitely feels like the tanks will be better than docs still in this PTE, in this balanced build. So I might
the
not use them
ants-
still.
Were the ants speed decreased at all?
increased.
Is it just the ants were increased?
Yeah.
It
All
was
tanks
increased for the
were
PTE. It
increased.
hasn't been increased since.
What
Yeah,
about
but-
Yeah,
Infernos?
stable
Have they
build.
been slowed down yet?
No, they're still the same speed.
No, they should be the same speed as the ants because it's fun.
Exactly. Why would you not? You
It's
people.
OP. They're OP. I think they're very
Just
OP.
use bombers. God, just use bombers.
Or dogs?
Okay,
or more
so
or more ants.
how did you guys feel about like, the viability of T1? I think you guys feel comfortable with that, right?
Yeah, I feel like tier 1 is actually to go right now with the current strength of tier 1 and I basically gave up all map control to get tier 2 and I couldn't really rely on turrets almost at all, so I feel like well, I didn't have my own tier 1 because I was making doxes which apparently are useless or close to useless versus scampers. But the thing is that if someone goes fast tier 2, he just can't get enough metal. But on the other hand, Custard didn't go for tier 2 at all, so I believe I could maybe out micro him with sniper bots maybe later. So
But-
if yeah,
Did you notice like how much the bot factory cost you to run? And did it feel like while you were running that you couldn't build anything else? Because that's how I felt when trying to get T2 early.
yeah, it's how it's tier 2 much more expensive now or what
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
factory, your factory cost 144 metal a second to run, and it used to be 35 or so for a bot factory, so that's a massive increase.
I think a better estimate would be tell you that each unit costs like 3k, and they used to cost like 400 or I don't remember how much. Like
Wait,
800.
so one sniper bot costs how much?
I don't think anyone ever actually messed with the T2 bot.
Let me look.
Because
So the-
to me, when I got T2, it
One
felt
sniper
like
bot
I
costs
got the factory, I got one
2,160.
fab route, and then I had to build like
Ca-
5 metal extractors
can you
before I could
repeat
even
metal?
use the factory again.
Custard.
Okay.
Can you repeat what's the cost of
Sniper bot cost 2,160.
So it's 2,100?
2,160. Yes.
Wow, that's way overkill. I really tier 2 is so useless now. Like the thing is that in this patch you nerfed basically 5 elements of fast tier 2 strategy. So you nerfed turrets, you nerfed cost of factory, you nerfed the units, then you buffed tier 1 tanks, then you buffed infernos, and you buffed combat fabbers. All these elements make tier 2 much weaker. So I think that just 2 or 3 things of these things would be enough. And if we have 5 or 6, I believe I would in this game. I think in this patch it feels like taking up before 10-minute mark is way like it's not good. So
at the end of the
maybe-
game, you guys had basically the same economy, but he had a
Yeah.
lot more units already in factories.
Yeah. So this way.
What if you just waited to start your tier 2 like a couple more minutes and like focused a little bit more on map control?
Yeah, that's what I plan to do, but I still feel like the jump between tier 1 and tier 2 is too big. And if I think if you have to choose either the jump, I mean the cost of factory is big, or the cost of units is big. Because if you have big cost of factory and then sniper bots costs really a lot again, then like there's no economic incentive for me to make those, because it's just much easier to mass tier 1 and probably win. So if you revert the cost of factory or the cost of units, or adjust it in some way, then it would make much more sense, because right now I feel like tier 2 just got way over nerfed.
Okay.
I personally am in favor of all the changes. Just want to put that out.
I'll add a
Because-
piece here. I'll add a lovely piece. Yeah, I think this actually does what you guys intended, which is to make T1 relevant. But as Matiz said, it does kind of push T2 a little way out of the way. Mind you, I really like that, but
Well,
I feel like
we don't want to
it might
make
be
tier
too
2
much.
irrelevant either. So, it's one of those things where it's like Matiz's feedback is useful and it's a well thought out and articulated. So I appreciate that. I think that you have to play 10 games or 20 games, and he's only had a chance to play 1. So
yeah, I agree, but I feel I can see the trends that will happen, and I did math in my head, and I feel like emphasis on tier 1 will be extremely huge. So I mean, it's
no,
obviously
I wanted this feedback and I wanted your first impressions. So
Okay.
it's great. Like I've taken a bunch of notes about things to think about.
One thing I just like to point out is in subcom 1v1s, you actually don't even get to tier 2 like half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like where we're going right now is great, because we could have on smaller planets matches where only T1 is used and you get that strategy. But I feel
But
like T2 should be more for larger maps, more large scale conflicts, or when you're in a
I agree.
stalemate. stuff like that. It should be that big advanced stuff rather than commonplace.
I
But-
don't agree, really. I believe that taking up incorrect situation is is a skill that is really like useful and interesting to the game. So if we make like first 10 or 15 minutes only relying on tier 1, the game will become actually slightly boring because of dominance of tier 1. I mean, if someone is able to put is skilled enough to put to sneak the tier 2 in correct place and in correct situation, it should reward him. And right now I don't feel really a reward for making a tier 2 that much right now. So
I don't feel it's really sneaking in. It's more like you plan from the start to do it, and your opponent knows you're doing it. But in the earlier builds, you couldn't stop your opponent. Now you can.
Exactly.
So you should have to build some T1, and then somewhere in there you can sneak it in. But it shouldn't be a rush strategy from the beginning.
I'll point this out here, Matiz. Matiz, you weren't here since early beta, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So you didn't play a lot of the patches where T1 was dominant, and then once you started getting levelers on the field, which were the only T2 unit anybody really used, then it was an enhancement to your armies because you put levelers behind your ants, and you'd have to push forward with both. You couldn't just use like pure levelers. I mean, when you got to 30 minutes into the game, nobody used ants anymore, but that's because ecos were crazy. And that's what I was thinking. Like, this does push back T2, and I think it's a little bit hard, but it works. And I'd like to see how it worked if both of you went T1 and then tried to slide your T2s in gently. Like
Yeah.
if you were both holding your own, and then you just started putting your T2s together and started adding the forces together and started figuring out unit compositions and et cetera, and pushing in the right places.
I think that's
So
right. I actually
it's-
think that agrees with what Matiz said, because Matiz, I think, essentially articulated what I've been trying to say in my streams and forum posts about what we want it to be. We want it to be, a thing where, it's something that if you, like he said, you can sneak it, or in other words, like if you get scouted while you're building tier 2, your opponent has time to react to that, and it doesn't mean he automatically wins. It just means that he has a chance, like there's an opportunity window where it's like, well, that's an expensive thing you're doing there. And then once you get it, that there is a reward there that does make it so it's like, okay, like I was able to hold him off long enough to get there, and so now, now I actually did capitalize on that advantage, and it gets better. But this is where the word balance is really critical, because if the reward is too high, then it should become something that everybody automatically does. It's like everybody just like, and that's kind of where I feel like the mainline build is. It's like everybody just goes tier 2 because it's so good, and that's also because tier 1 didn't feel like it could effectively fight even like a few turrets and the Uber cannon. So. And they especially with walls, they didn't have any way to address the wall health, but with the Grenadier, they can now shoot over the walls. So anyway, the point, the thing that Matiz said was, choosing that moment where it's like, okay, this is the right moment where I can afford at some level to do that, to go to tier 2, is kind of like, we want that to be a strategic decision, and it not be automatically you should do it, and not be automatically you shouldn't do it. So that's completely separate from whether or not that this build achieves that or not. It's just, that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Yeah, but I think in this patch, around 13 or 15 mark would be the time, the proper time to get first tier 2 factory, which I believe is kind of too late, but it's obviously up to debate, and it's like a design idea of the of Uber or players what they think is fun. But I believe that as I don't know if you read my post recently on forum, like 2 weeks ago, about the new metagame last build, and it already showed the trends that tier 2 was quite delayed, like 8 or 9 minute mark was the proper time to get tier 2, and I believe that those 6 nerfs that happened just nerfed tier 2 to the level that it's almost the game will be almost decided at tier 1. And in the last patch, everyone thought that tier 2 is so dominant and so worth to rush, but then I used a lot of dogs and skitter harass early on, and I just prevented turrets from getting up and stuff, and it already went in decent direction. And right now I feel like we are losing the balance between tier 2 and tier 1, which was slightly too in favor of tier 2, but right now it's getting way too much into tier 1, the focus, I mean. So I feel like tier 1 got overbuffed.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the reward for T2 is too low now because it just costs so many resources. You have to sacrifice so much to make it, and then you don't get too much out of it.
Exactly.
You obviously get the better economy, but then you have to sacrifice the map control, and I'm always of the opinion the map control is really important.
Well, we're trying to
Like,
make it so map
particularly
control
for
is
bases,
really
we should try and
important.
expand all the time.
Map control should be the most important resource you own.
And that's what we were hoping to do. Again, I'm not claiming that we succeeded. I was hoping that by lowering the amount of metal that the tier 2 metal extractors produced, that we were going to make map control more important, because now you need to have more of them to fuel your T2 economy. Now remember, we took tier 2 and we like 4x'd everything, or I think we may have ended up at 3.5x'd all the costs and the production of the metal extractors. And then I came back and I said, even though we did all that, I moved the metal extractors like all the way down to 24, so which is like slightly below what they were even in the first place. So that may, at the risk of getting into a balance loop, as Skathis points out, that may require that we need to move the metal costs of everything in tier 2 back down. Probably not all the way, obviously, because that's not the point at all, but somewhat. And that would help. That would do two things for us. One it would make it more viable. It would make that reward a little bit better. Like, you can now pay for things a little cheaper. It would shorten the risk time for tier 2, which we're still trying to tune here. Like, okay, how long does it take to do that? Like, okay, well, if it's I'm going to make up a number here, but if the tier 2 factories were 5,000 and 7,200, that takes about a third of the time to build it off, and that makes it so that the risk is a little shorter, and the reward, if everything else is proportionally done the same way, is a little better, even though that the metal prevalence in tier 2 would be still less than what it was, like what it is in the main line, in the current.
Yeah.
The problem is that, you know, when someone the planetary annihilation has only one race, so it will be always like that. When tier 1 one player decides to go for heavy tier 1 play, and the other will go for heavy tier 1 but go for tier 2 later, it will always mean that for 2 or 3 minutes he will be behind in units, and this way he will not have enough map control. So if I go for tier 2, I will always sacrifice quite a lot of map control, and that's the problem. That those 2 or 3 minutes are so huge and so important that the tier 2 really has to be really strong, like in the last patch, to justify sacrificing like 10 or 20 maxes or something.
I just want to point out here that again, I'm going to go back to the earlier beta builds. The way T2 worked was it was gradual. We would put one Faber on it at like, what? Custard, would you say 7 minutes? That's what I remember. Putting like a Faber or two on it at 7 or 8 minutes.
I never agreed with that, because then you just have sitting mass there. You should build it all
well,
out.
which I'm not saying that's a
I
good
might
thing.
have done that, but I wouldn't agree with it now.
I'm saying that we'd start it slow and we'd put it in, we'd start gradually adding more economy to it. The thing is once you get enough map control, you shouldn't have to take a huge hit to jump to T2. You could just be like, oh, it'd be nice to have T2 right now, because I get more units, better units, I can break this defensive line, I can get a massive economy, which compared to T2, T1 still has a pretty big economy. And you can say, okay, so let's go T2, 10 Fabers, go. Minute and a half later, done.
So what you said right now is that you said something about defense lines and that you cannot break him or something. So that means that I basically have to take my part of the my half of the planet, and then defend it with walls or turrets or something, and then
No.
that's
Not
the time where I
necessarily.
can take up. So that's too late, I believe.
No, not
If I could
necessarily.
talk-
It's sure. Go
Yeah, let's
ahead.
give Orb a shot.
I play a lot of FAF, Forge Alliance, so I'm always thinking about Forge Alliance when we talk about these things. And when you tech, you theoretically, I agree, you would lose map control just like in FA if you teched, but that's not how things work. We're humans. We can't see the entire map. You're not always engaging because you're going to give them mass. They're probably going to win the engagement because it's closer to their production than yours. So if you, like you said, sneakily go T2, generally that means either doing fake attacks to get them on the defensive and not raiding your mechs. That's what some people do. Or you shore up, build defenses, or keep them distracted. But in general, you don't lose map control though, because unless you do it really poorly, like you just stop attacking and because then your opponent will smell weakness. But in general, you got to be a little bit more smart about it. But I don't know. I feel like back in the old days of PA, when you teched, you would have less units, but those effects aren't felt immediately. Like the units take time to get built, they take time to move out, and also you have you have a large portion of the map economy. You're thinking in reference to when you don't even have the entire map claimed. It's only these small little, like maybe 12 mexes before people go T2 now.
Here, actually,
You're gonna have like maybe 4 times that many mexes, and the T2 is gonna be a much smaller portion of your economy as you set it up when you initially set it, and so it'll have less of effect. I don't know if that made sense, but
let me link. I have actually an old game that was recorded by a very old caster who is not with us anymore, unfortunately.
Like
Did he die?
dead?
Who?
What?
No, mind a lot actually.
Well, Zayfa casted old games, didn't he?
Yeah, this is just one that I was in particular that I lost pretty badly. But I think it displays a very, very good example of map control, because by the mid-game, early mid-game, both of us had claimed basically every single mech on the planet, and we were fighting over every single inch of the planet, or every mechs. And we both went T2 at different times, and I think he went earlier than me and got stuff on the field earlier, and the eco hit me, and that was pretty much it. So it's still about taking up, it's still about map control, but it's more about map control, and that's what I would prefer, is more about map control than taking up.
Okay, I think we've had a good number of points made here, and one of the things that I think is important in these discussions is like you take all the points, you listen to them, you make counterpoints, but then you don't necessarily need to repeat them. And I think that it's natural for all of us to fall prey to that. So I think those were good points on both sides about map control and like kind of the delicate balance of advancing from tier 1 to tier 2 and like that sort of thing. So I actually have to go soon here for another appointment, and what I'd love for you guys to do is maybe play some more when you get a chance on the PTE build. One question I have for you guys is it better than the mainline build?
I'm coming back to PA because of it, personally. I went over to FA after 2 months. Like February, you started making those changes, and then I kind of dropped out after March. So personally, I really enjoy the changes.
Okay.
I think it looks a lot better.
I think
I
it's
agree.
slightly better, but
Oh,
in some ways it's worse, in some ways it's better, but overall slightly better.
I'll go
I
with
have my
Burntcustard.
reservations, if I'm honest.
And what about, I couldn't, everything was so flashy. Did something change in settings, or I just couldn't see everything clearly as before?
Did
Like
you turn
there's-
3D mode on?
It does seem to be a little bit more shiny.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's...
The
I'm
artists
talking
have been
about.
doing a number of things. I don't know if more shiny is what it is. The other thing is that there's now screen space ambient occlusion, which will cause things to just have more shadows and look a little bit more, especially buildings, but they'll just have kind of that shadow effect underneath them. There's a post on it in the forums about the ambient occlusion. It just means that without even in the direct light of the sun, you'll still see some kind of that darkness underneath the edge of things. I'm trying to figure out I'm wondering if I have it on actually, but that might be an effect that you might be seeing.
Okay.
Actually, one more question.
Blue
Meta.
Shadow's awesome, by the way.
Oh yes.
Those developers good.
Yeah.
I like.
And incidentally, this latest build has all the strategic icons get drawn in one draw call because of the particle. They're all particles now, and so it all happens at once, and that makes things a lot faster. And I tried to build a planet with like a ton of stuff on it, and it was still it's not where we wanted, but you know, a situation where I think I would have previously had like 4 or 8 frames per second, I had 20. So good job, Varric.
Incidentally, who was it that broke the energy bars on the commander?
I'm not really into the public blame. I prefer to do public appreciation.
Oh, okay.
No.
But
Okay,
humiliation.
so I'm gonna
Have
go
you-
to sleep. It's really late. So
Yeah.
see you
Okay.
guys in
Thanks for
games
joining, guys. We'll do this
later.
again
Take care,
sometime.
Matthews.
Good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
I have to
1v1 me,
ask
brah.
Mesa,